Hello and welcome to the day. Thank you for spending your time with us. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. I am Joel. Today we are talking about my Vampire Tribal deck for Pioneer. Let's get right into the deck, but before we do, if you wouldn't mind hitting like, hitting subscribe, or dislike, whatever button you like down there. If you're logged in, go down there and click a button. If you're not logged in, sit back, relax. Let's talk about Vampires in Pioneer. I have got a black-white vampire deck that I've been playing to some success. Haven't played it in a league yet, but I am very excited about how this deck is performing so far. The entire deck is built around Sorin, Imperious Bloodlord. If you've seen our Pioneer series about sleeper hits, we think that Sorin could possibly bust out. I really like how his -3 ability puts a vampire creature card from your hand directly onto the battlefield. We've got 4 possible targets that we really want to hit with that -3. Necropolis Regent is a flying 6/5. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. Next, we've got Blood Baron of Vizkopa. Was in our sleeper series. Lifelink, pro-white, pro-black. As long as you have 30 or more life and opponent has 10 or less life, it's a 10/10 flyer. Hell yeah. Next up, Kazarov, flying. Whenever a creature an opponent controls is dealt damage, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Awesome. Our 4th target is Champion of Dusk. Now, we do run a 3 of, so this is the top end of our curve. However, this is a fine target for Sorin's minus ability because when it enters the battlefield, you draw X cards, you lose X life, where X is the number of vampires you control. Hopefully, we have at least 2 vampires on the battlefield by the time Sorin hits and his -3 goes off because he is 3 mana. And this is how we get there. Legion's Landing at the bottom of our curve. Beautiful enchantment. It can flip and create 1/1 vampires forever. It brings a 1/1 with it onto the battlefield when it comes into play. We've got Knight of the Ebon Legion, also as a 1-drop. Fantastic creature. It can grow. It grows as you deal damage. One of my favorite creatures out of M20. At our 2-drop slot, we've got Adanto Vanguard. Adanto Vanguard represents Indestructible for just 4 life. Indestructible is going to get you around board wipe, and that is really the bane of the existence on a tribal, go-wide kind of creature-based deck. We've got Asylum Visitor. Asylum Visitor is an interesting card. I hadn't seen it. The 3/1 is very interesting because it hits hard, but it can die easily. However, it does present some discard protection with the Madness, even though we don't really have Madness enablers in this deck. But it also represents card advantage if you empty your hand, which a tribal deck is very likely to do. It also triggers if the opponent's hand is empty, and that's pretty sweet as well. Past that, in our 2-drop slot, we got Legion Lieutenant. I mean, right? You gotta, it's right? In our 3-drop slot, we got Drana's Emissary. Drana's Emissary is one of the probably first cards to come out if you get into sideboarding, and probably one of my first cuts as I continue to refine this deck. At the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses a life, you gain a life. That's dope, and it flies, so it does have some avoidance. Plus, Vampire, it's relevant, you know. Under that, we got one of our 5 main deck removal spells in Mortify. Destroy target creature or some pesky enchantment that's on the battlefield, like Hardened Scales. Hello. We got Fatal Push on the other side of that. Destroy target creature if it has converted mana cost 2 or less with the Revolt. That you can't really trigger that often in Pioneer. Let's look at some gameplay and see how the deck works a little bit, and then we'll talk about the sideboard after. Looking at our opening hand, we only have the 1 land, so we're not interested in that. We're going to go with this 4-land hand, even though it's a 3-cost removal and 2 of the cards that we would want to drop with our Planeswalker, and we don't have the Planeswalker in hand. We'll see what we draw, though. There's a lot at 1 and a lot at 2 and a lot at 3 in our deck, and so it's an okay gamble to see kind of where we end up. We go ahead and play a tapped land because whatever. We see that we draw another land. Not thrilled about that. We'll play our land, we'll yield our turn, we'll see what the opponent has for us. They're going to Thoughtseize. Not a bad time to be Thoughtseized because we're not in love with our hand. They take our Baron, that's fine. We don't need our 5-cost right now anyway. Now we draw a 2-cost and we get going. So we go ahead and play Asylum Visitor. We see that we draw another Asylum Visitor. Pretty dope. However, we can just attack here. We don't have to play our other one at this moment, because we can stay open with Mortify. Now, Mortify is going to let us kill whatever they end up playing, but they just end up playing another tap land and passing. Then we draw our Sorin. We can swing for 3, we can play the Sorin, and we can drop a creature card, Champion of Dusk, that's going to refill our hand. Hey, we happen into a 1-mana vampire, we can play that as well. We see a Courser of Crucifix, we untap, I believe, yep, we draw a second Mortify, so let's just go ahead and main phase the Mortify here. Cast it on Crucifix, give one +1/+1 counter. There's a little question of where to drop this, but I think, you know, growing the butt of the 3/1 is going to be the best thing. They're down to 4, and we play another Knight. Both of those are going to grow, and they concede. So, as you can see, the deck can really get there. It can go off, and it can take down a deck before the opponent has any chance to do anything. As far as sideboard goes, I would think first about cards like Kambal, about cards like Thoughtseize, especially against control decks or decks that aren't playing a lot of creatures. If they're playing non-creatures, Kambal's going to punish them, and Thoughtseize is the same way. If we can take out a Planeswalker or some critical piece of their combo with Thoughtseize, it's going to be huge. I would say Rest in Peace would be a fantastic sideboard option as well against graveyard-based strategies. Past that, get your 4th Mortify, get 2 more Fatal Pushes, cards like that that are really going to clear the air, clear the ground either way, so that you can push through and get that damage going as quickly as possible. I appreciate you watching so much. Let me know what you would change about the main board and what you would put in the sideboard. That's what I'm trying to build right now. Also, let me know if you play this deck on MTGO. I want to see if it's successful for you. Really appreciate it. Don't forget, we are streaming twice a week over on Twitch, Tuesday and Thursday. Like I said at the beginning, if you wouldn't mind hitting like, hitting subscribe, hit dislike if you didn't like the video. Love that too. Only if you're logged in though. Otherwise, we appreciate you watching. If you want to support us further, we've got a Patreon. The link is down in the description below. I'm tapped out. I'll catch you later. Vampires.